Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 13 of Uzumaki Naruto, Birth of the New Demon King. If you guys enjoyed this what if, and want to see part 14 of it, comment down below, and let me know. The like goal for this video is 200 likes. So like this video, to let me know that you're interested in this series, and you want the next part. Check out my new videos of My Hero Academia what ifs in my second channel, and give it some love as well. Link is in the description. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel. Before we start, please do support for more awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So let's start this video. Naruto was sealing some of the items he felt he would need into a sealing scroll when he heard a light groan. Looking over at his bed, he saw Anko beginning to stir. He watched as her eyes fluttered for a second before shooting wide open. The perplexed shot off the bed and instinctively reached for her kunai pouch, which was not there as Naruto had taken it off of her when putting her to bed. Her eyes soon landed on said blonde Uzumaki and whitened. Naruto. Hey, he greeted with a half smile half grin. Are you feeling alright now? You were pretty distraught when I brought you here. Anko blushed bright red as she remembered her actions, which she would half admit was caused by mass amounts of sake and the other half being genuine gratitude. Though if Naruto were to learn those thoughts he would assume the sake had more of an influence on her. Sorry about that, she scratched the back of her head sheepishly. I was a little, drunk when I spotted you. Don't worry about it. It's not like I didn't enjoy the kiss, Naruto said with a grin. He watched his uncle look away. Though I was a little worried for a moment there. I thought you were crying because my kiss sucked. Well I wouldn't know. That was my first kiss, Anko admitted with embarrassment laden in her voice. Naruto blinked. Really? That's surprising. He was even surprised that she would tell him. Though, Anko gained a tick mark on her forehead, but kept her face otherwise calm. And why is that? It's just that you're so beautiful I thought you would have men lining up to be with you, Naruto told her honestly. Anko, who had been angry just a few seconds ago, thinking Naruto assumed she was some kind of slut like everyone else, snapped her mouth, which had just opened to spew expletives at him, shut. It took her several moments of silence to process Naruto's words into something she could understand. When she finally did, she looked down at the ground. You think I'm beautiful? Naruto frowned at Anko's actions. They were very different than what he had expected of the strong and frightening Kunoichi he had met before the second stage of the Chunin Exams. She seemed so unsure of herself. He had more or less figured out that her public personality was more or less an act. Some of what she showed others were real enough, but the blonde was sure that most of what people saw was simply an act she used to keep others away. Despite this, she looked a lot more unsure of herself than he would have expected of a jonin. Why wouldn't I think you were beautiful? Naruto said, answering her question with another question. Anko looked at him for a moment before seeming to regain her usual attitude. She quickly laughed and said, well of course I am, right? I mean, I'm the great and sexy Mitarashi Anko. You don't need to act around me, Anko-san, Naruto said, causing her laughing to trail off. I know what it's like to be discriminated against by the village. So don't think you need to pretend around me. Anko's feet began playing with the carpet when she looked down. I suppose you would, huh? She looked up at him and grinned. Though you're something of a hero nowadays. Yeah, because of my two-san, Naruto said with a snort. They don't actually like me, but because I killed Orochimaru and my old man expressed his shame in how they treated me, I'm treated differently. However, I'm not Sasuke so I'm fairly indifferent to their ass-kissing. Anko snickered at his words, and Naruto grinned. Listen, I've got a mission so I've got to get going. But I was wondering if you wanted to hang out sometime after I get back. What do you mean? Like a date? Asked Anko, looking at him curiously. If you want, Naruto shrugged. I was just thinking of hanging out, but we could do a date too. He grinned and winked at her. You certainly won't find me complaining about taking such a beautiful young woman out to dinner. Anko shook her head, partly in amusement and partly to hide her blush. You're a lot different than what I remember from you, Gaki. You do know I'm 11 years older than you, right? You say that like age matters to me, Naruto said. He pointed to his headband. I'm wearing this, aren't I? That means I'm an adult in the eyes of the village. Actually, it didn't matter to him because he wasn't human. As a demon, and one with above S-class power, he was immortal. Raizen himself had been nearly 4,000 years old before he died, and he would have lived longer had he not made that promise to never eat another human. The fact was, when you became timeless, age meant less than nothing. The blonde grinned at Anko. Besides, do I look 13 to you? No, Anko said, shaking her head. She smirked at him. You'll have to tell me why you look so much older than you did a month ago. Maybe later, for now I've got to head out, Naruto said. You don't need to bother locking the door when you leave, I don't have anything of value in here anyways. You're just going to let me stay here? Asked Anko, her eyes widening slightly in surprise. Naruto shrugged. You can leave any time you want, but I don't particularly care if you stay either. Anyways, I'll see you later Anko-san. That's Anko-chan to Higaki. Anko shouted after Naruto as he left the apartment. The infamous snake mistress of Konoha looked around at the apartment. It was clean, but rather trashed, likely from years of abuse and break-ins. It certainly wasn't a place someone like Naruto deserved to live. Hopefully the kid's father would be able to get him a nicer place. It would be a shame to come to this place every time she wanted to see Naruto, and she was beginning to like the kid. Birth of the new Demon King. Naruto arrived at the north entrance to see that his team was already there. He looked at the three of them. Hana was standing at the ready. She had 3 dogs with her, all 3 of whom had stiffened at his presence. Shino was standing under a tree. There was a slight buzzing sound coming from his insects, which Naruto noticed also had much to do with his presence. The only one missing was, "Where is Shikamaru?" asked Naruto as he looked around. "Right here." Everyone turned to look down the road to see Shikamaru wearing his usual outfit, only with the Chunin jacket added on. He yawned and stretched his hands above his head, his perpetual lazy and bored expression on his face. Let's get this troublesome mission over with. Were it not for the fact that Naruto had more or less expected this response from the lazy ninja, he would have rolled his eyes. In a minute, first off, I want a dissertation of your skills. I already know most of yours, Shikamaru. However, I never really saw Shino in action, and because Kiba didn't really put up much of a fight in the prelims, I know next to nothing about Hana-san here. Shino. As you well know, I am a member of the Burame clan, Shino began, pushing his sunglasses up his nose, and causing them to flash in the sunlight. I rely mostly on my kick beetles in combat. My main style of combat relies on me being several moves ahead of my opponent, and boxing them in with my kick, then draining them of their chakra so they can't fight. I am also versed in several of my clan techniques, such as the Mushi Bunshin, bug clone. So you're mainly a long-distance fighter who relies on chakra-eating insects and strategy, Naruto stated after hearing everything Shino said. Correct. Hana, said Naruto, turning to the last member of his team and the one he knew absolutely nothing about. Right? Hana stood at attention. Like everyone else in my clan, my style relies heavily on my clan taijutsu and our special attacks. I always fight with my partners, the Himeru Sankudai, 3 Himeru brothers. I'm also a vet, and have some basic experience in medical jutsu and medicine. How good are you at healing humans? Asked Naruto. Not very, Hana admitted. I specialize in dogs, though I do know a few medical techniques for humans. I wouldn't be able to heal anything more than superficial wounds. Naruto nodded, having expected as much when he asked that, but felt the need to confirm. Being a vet meant she specialized in helping animals, not humans, and there were differences in anatomy and genetics she had to account for in her techniques. Meaning the jutsu she used on dogs and cats wouldn't work as she used them on a person. Alright, you all know our mission, Naruto began. We are to find and escort Senjutsu Tsunade back to Konoha. Hana, we're going to rely on you and your ninja dogs, to find Tsunade. Jiraiya-sen only gave us a basic heading on where to go. Right? Hana said with a nod. I'll need something of Tsunade-sama's in order to find her. I've got something that Jiraiya-sen gave me, Naruto said, holding out a scroll. We'll wait until we're in town however, as I don't want the scent to possibly get ruined by our own scents. When Hana nodded, Naruto looked at his other 2 teammates. Shino, we'll also be relying on your bugs to search out any powerful chakra signatures. When Shino nodded, the blonde Uzumaki turned to the final member of his team. Shikamaru, I want you to create several contingency plans in case Tsunade decides to bolt. From what Jiraiya-sen told me, it's a very likely possibility with her. Sounds troublesome. He trailed off at the look on Naruto's face, which more or less said unless you want to experience untold amounts of pain, do as I say, and hurriedly added, but I'll do it. Good, Naruto said, clapping his hands together. Our first heading is Atofujin-gai, where Jiraiya-sen's spy network last reported Tsunade being seen. We'll be traveling fast, so it should only take a day for us to get there. Now, let's go. After checking out with the gate guards, Naruto and the others walked out and jumped into the trees. As they began traveling to their first destination, Naruto found his mind on Kyuubi. She had yet to return to him, and while he was not worried as he knew she could take care of herself, he was beginning to miss her. Sighing, he refocused on his mission. All he could do was hope she would return soon. Birth of the new Demon King. Minato had just finished his paperwork for the day when the 2 members of the Elder Council, Danzo and Hyuga Hiyashi, entered his office. Minato looked up to see them all there, nodded in greeting. I'm glad to see you've all come so promptly, he said, indicating several seats next to Sarutobi and Jiraiya, who had been with him since the morning. We have much to discuss. The 3 retired ninja and 1 clan head all sat down, wondering what they had been called for. Yudatain Kaheru, Mitakato Homura, as of this moment I am firing you from the elder's position on the council. 6 sets of eyes wide into his statement, and Minato was hard-pressed not to smile. The positions will be taken by Jiraiya-sensei and Hiyashi-san, with Sarutobi-san as its head. You can't do this, Kaheru exclaimed, shock clearly evident on her face. We have been the elders on the council for decades. Which is why it's time for you 2 to retire, Minato said calmly, having expected this response. You've remained in power for too long, and I think you've gotten too comfortable with the position. I have another job I want the two of you to do. Many of our shinobi do not understand the politics that run a village. Therefore, I am making it mandatory for all shinobi of Chunin rank and up to learn about the political arena, both in our village and in others. You two will be teaching in seminars once a month until all of our shinobi understand politics, and then again when we get a new batch of Chunin. You will be continuously paid for an S-rank mission for doing this, allowing you to keep you comfortable lifestyles. And I can do this, you forget that I am the Hokage. This village is a military dictatorship with the Hokage in charge. All decisions on how this village is run, and who is helping me run it is up to me. Not you or anyone else. If you cannot accept it, then I will have to forcibly retire you. He left the threat hanging in the air, forcing the two elders to concede defeat. Satisfied, Minato dismissed the two and turned to Hiashi. Aside from your new job as acting elder, I also have a proposition for you. Yes, Hokage-sama? Hiashi asked with a raised eyebrow. I am going to be rebuilding the police force that the Uchiha clan once controlled before the massacre, Minato said. I wish for the Hyuga to be in charge. Hiashi's eyebrows rose to his hairline, and for the first time in his life, surprise was shown clearly on his face. Minato held back a smile at getting emotion to show on the normally stoic man's face as he continued. While the Hyuga will be in charge, this will not be a solely Hyuga-operated program. Your clan will be working closely with those of the Inizuka and Aburame clans, who have always worked well with the Hyuga and tracker squads. I have already created a basic outline of what I want. However, should you feel the need to make changes, do not be afraid to do so. I want you to look the plans over, and in 1 month come back with any changes you have the structure of the police force. Afterwards, you will have 5 months to implement the new police force into the inner workings of Konoha. Is this acceptable? Hi, Hokage-sama, said Hiashi. Well, it was hard to tell with the man's stoic face, he looked exceedingly happy. The man left a few moments later and turned to Danzo, who looked as stoic as ever, but had a sense of curiosity about him. Minato looked at Danzo for a few moments, remembering what Naruto had told him about the man. Birth of the new Demon King. Flashback. It had only been a few minutes after Minato's first meeting with the council, and after getting his anger at his son's treatment in Konoha off his chest, the newly reappointed Yondaime was feeling much better. With him were Naruto, who was sitting down on the couch looking relaxed and comfortable, Jiraiya, and Sarutobi. Well, I think that went well, Sarutobi said at last. You managed to leave the council flat-footed. Good, Minato replied. Hopefully I will be able to take them even more off guard in the months to come, so I can implement the changes I want without interference. He had many changes he wanted to make to Konoha, several of which were actually ideas he had gotten from Naruto, who was a fountain of innovation and change. Some would not be able to be implemented for years, but a few were ones he could do now. However, his thoughts on what he wanted to change about Konoha were derailed as Naruto spoke. That old man with the bandages, that was Danzo, right? He asked. Yes, Sarutobi said, curiosity evident in his voice. Why do you want to know? He is hiding something, several somethings in fact. What do you mean? Asked Minato with a thoughtful frown on his face. As you have told, with the Rinnegan I can see and analyze chakra. Well, I do not have the 360-degree vision and ability to see Tenketsu as the Byakugan, or the copying abilities of the Sharingan. With the Rinnegan I can see chakra at its base forms. Danzo has a powerful chakra hidden in his right eye, and there are 10 chakra spots on his left arm, though they are not as powerful as the one in his eye. I don't know what they are, but they remind me of the chakra I see when looking at the Sharingan Kakashi and Sasuke possess. This caused the 3 older ninja to look pensive and startled. Minato decided he would need to make plans in order to force Danzo into revealing himself in a way that implicated him in a treasonous light. He began to make plans on what to do about the known Warhawk, either to make use of him, or hang him by the proverbial throat. Flashback end. Birth of the new Demon King. I am reactivating the Black Ops program Naruto and placing you at its head. Began Minato, surprising the elder man enough that it actually showed on his face. That was of course what he wanted, to leave Danzo off guard and off balance. He and the old Warhawk never saw eye to eye on how the village should be run. Much like Senju Hashirama, Minato believed in trying to create peace amongst the shinobi villages, while Danzo believed in using fear and war to subjugate the other villages. They had argued many times in the past when Minato had become Hokage. That was what likely had the older man so surprised. Of course, I've known even before my death over 13 years ago that it was still active. Despite the fact that Sarutobi had ordered you to disband it well over 3 decades ago. However, I am willing to forgive this transgression, and not have you executed for treason if all of my conditions are met. My first condition is that I want to know who you have working for you, therefore you will give me a roster of all the operatives both past and present on my desk within the next 24 hours. Secondly, I want a complete overhaul of your program's training. No longer will the operatives be emotionless robots incapable of independent thought. I need them to have a full range of personalities and the ability to switch as needed. They will be working closely with Jiraiya's spy network to go undercover in other hidden villages that we are still hostile towards. We will give them authentic passports to enter other countries under an assumed name, and they will have to take on multiple identities to suit our needs. They will be our first line of defense, taking care of any problems we might run into long before these issues ever reach our doorstep. You're talking about a complete overhaul of my training methods, Danzo said slowly once Minato had stopped talking. Such a deviation from my original training will take time, and the older recruits will be very hard to re-educate. Which is why I am giving you 3 years to accomplish this, Minato said. Also, I want it made clear that you will no longer be recruiting children, all members of NU will be Chunin and higher. If you want someone, send me a list of those you feel have the potential to be in NU and I'll decide whether or not they should go there. You will report your progress to the Hokage each month. I will also be doing a personal checkup of my own, just to make sure you have not deviated from my design. What about funding? Asked Danzo. You still have over 100,000 ryo from the funds you've been leaking from the treasury, Minato stated, enjoying the look of surprise on Danzo. The man likely thought since Sarutobi never noticed he wouldn't either. It was clear this man forgot just how good at intelligence gathering and reading between the lines Minato was. Truth be told, it had not been hard for him to have Sarutobi pull up the money spent from the treasury and discover the trail Danzo had leaked. Of course, it could have been someone else, the money trail had led to a dead end. But considering the reaction he just got, it was safe to assume Danzo was the one leaking funds. You'll start with that. If you need more funds, then we will discuss that at a later date. Hearing the dismissal in Minato's voice, Danzo left. Are you sure that was a good idea? Asked Jiraiya. If what Naruto said was true, and he is hiding several Sharingan eyes on his body, then it means he has not only committed a crime against a clan, but also has been experimenting on bloodlines, possibly even using the work Orochimaru had here before leaving Konoha, Minato said, interrupting his sensei. Or it could be possible he was working with Orochimaru, Sarutobi pointed out. Well, he didn't want to think his old friend would do such a thing. The now retired Sandaime knew that if Danzo thought it was for the good of Konoha, he would not hesitate to do it. That's also possible, which is just another reason to keep an eye on him, Minato said. Even as the Hokage, I can't just arrest someone on groundless and baseless accusations. While I may be in charge, people still have rights, and I still have rules that must be followed. I can't just say that my son saw chakra hidden by a couple of bandages, and there is no proof other than a similarity in chakra that what he has hidden are Sharingan eyes. Also, by giving my permission to reactivate NU, I am making it so that he can't do anything without me knowing. When you told him to disband the program, he didn't, and it allowed him to go underground because you trusted him to do so. During that time he was able to entrench himself in the village, and his actions were those of a ghost. With this, I can keep an eye on him and ensure that should he make a wrong move, I can finish him off. If you say so, Jiraiya said with a shrug. He knew that Minato never did anything without a good reason, so if his student thought something was a good idea, then it probably was. And while Danzo is digging his own grave, I want you, Sarutobi-san, to keep an eye on our 2 former elders. If they were the ones who gave away Kushina's birth to Madara, I want to know. Of course, Sarutobi said with a smile. Now that I'm more or less retired, it won't look so suspicious when I go and visit them to see how they are doing and spend time reminiscing about old times. Thank you, Minato said. He then turned to his former teacher. Now, Jiraiya-sensei, you were saying something about a possible threat to my son before the others came. Jiraiya's expression morphed into a form of seriousness that looked out of place on the normally jovial Gama-senin's face. Yes, I've uncovered a threat, not just to your son, but to all Jinchuriki. They are calling themselves Akatsuki. Birth of the new Demon King. Odo Fujiangai was a very lively place, Naruto decided. The town looked much like any other town, filled with shops, bars and restaurants. There were people walking up and down the street, enjoying the day, window shopping or just spending time with their friends. Stalls lined the street, each one filled with food or games or some other form of entertainment. Parents were taking their children to some of these stalls, buying them ice cream or some other sweet treat, letting them play a game where they had to use a net to catch a goldfish. Naruto even saw a shuriken throwing game that some of the older kids and young adults were playing. There was a lot going on, and Naruto was glad that he had 2 people who specialized in tracking, otherwise finding Tsunade would prove to be very difficult. Uzumaki-san, Shino said after having moved up to his side. The Kakashi that I left in our path have picked up 4 powerful chakra signatures. Naruto didn't bother looking at Shino as he kept up his charade at looking at all that was going on around him as he said. What can you tell me about them? One of them is very powerful. In fact, the most powerful signature I can sense is more powerful than all 3 other signatures combined. Another feels odd. It feels like there are 5 different chakra signatures. I'm not skilled enough to tell more than that. The other 2 are contrasting with each other. One of them is very controlled, refined would be a good word. And the other is chaotic, violent. The blonde Uzumaki nodded as he asked, and how far out are they? At their current pace, they will be entering the city in 10 minutes. Okay, Naruto stopped, forcing the other 3 to stop as well. Change of plans you two. It seems we're being followed by several powerful ninja. I doubt they are friendly, so here's what we're going to do. I want you three to continue on as normal. Go to every bar, motel, casino and gambling parlor in town, and see what you can find on Tsunade. Meanwhile, I'll go and deal with this new threat. Are you sure that's wise? Asked Hana. I mean, wouldn't it be better if all of us came with you? Not in this instance, Naruto said, shaking his head. Whoever is following us aren't your average, run-of-the-mill ninja. I'm likely going to need to go all out, and my techniques are destructive. I'd be just as prone to hurting you guys as I would them. Fighting sounds too troublesome anyways, Shikamaru said with a yawn. So I'll leave it to you. Just try not to die, otherwise your old man is gonna give us a lot of troublesome grief. I don't like it, Hana said, but I also know that you killed Orochimaru, and you are in charge. I shall have some Kakechu monitor your situation, Shino said. As we are a team, we will step in should you find yourself in trouble. Naruto nodded, that's fine, though I don't think I'll need help. Focus on getting information on Tsunade for now. I want to have her either located, or if she's not in this town I want to know where she went. The three gave Naruto a quick yes before heading out. Sighing, the blonde began walking around town again as if nothing was wrong. Birth of the new Demon King. For several seconds, Minato said nothing as he looked at the nervous Jonin in front of him. Hatake Kakashi, he began at last, looking at a file on the man who had at one point been his student. Jonin Sensei of Team 7, ever since I heard about you being a Jonin Sensei I have had your files pulled up. I must confess to being disappointed in the way you've handled your team. The silver-haired Jonin's lone eye widened, but he was given no chance to speak as the Yondaime continued. From these files I have come to the conclusion that you have been negligent in your duties as a Jonin Sensei. We shall start with a review of your mission to Nami no Kuni, Wave Country, which started off as a C-rank guard and escort mission. After finding out that the client had lied about the mission parameters, you failed to take in your student's safety first, and decided to press on with the mission. Even after facing off against a member of the Kiri Shinobi Katana Nanin Shu, and having the mission upgraded to an A rank, you refused to back out of the mission. In your arrogance you also failed to even call for backup, which you know is the standard procedure when continuing with a mission that is beyond the current level of the team sense. And after your confrontation with the Demon Brothers is something that would have been simple for you, thanks to your summoning contract with the dogs. Despite knowing the danger you continued the mission where you faced the Kirigakure no One, Demon of the Hidden Mist, Mamachi Zabuza, and would have been killed were it not for the quick planning of one of your students. Even after this lucky break you once again ignored protocol and refused calling for backup, which would have undoubtedly arrived before your second confrontation with Zabuza. It was only after all of this when you finally decided to teach your students tree climbing, which they should have learned 2 weeks after graduating from the academy. Your actions nearly cost you 2 members of your squad during your second encounter with Zabuza to Haku, who only lost that battle due to Naruto accessing the chakra of the Kyuubi, a dangerous situation, as he had not had any instruction on how to properly use it. As it is, only his strong will and sense of morals stopped him from succumbing to its power. After this mission you continued along this road until it came time for the Chunin Exams, and ignored 2 of your students, so you could focus on Uchiha Sasuke after his Sharingan's manifestation via private tutoring, once the other 2 had left. Because of your inaction in their training, both Naruto and Sakura were woefully undertrained. As I understand it, Naruto still had trouble with his chakra control, due to the vast reserves given to him via the Haki Fu and leaking Kyuubi's chakra into his chakra coils. Rather than help him and Sakura, who was floundering due to a lack of motivation to train, motivation which you should have provided, you left them in favor of a single student. Despite knowing of these problems and not doing anything to fix them, you nominated your team for the Chunin Exams, without giving them any warning or time to train for it. It was only thanks to Naruto activating a bloodline having long since been thought lost on my family's side, that the 3 even managed to make it past the second stage. Then as soon as the preliminary rounds were over you disappeared on your genin without a word to them, so that you could once again privately train the Uchiha. Not only that, but despite Sasuke having received Orochimaru's Junjutsu, which combined with his already unstable personality, made him a very dangerous person. You taught him exclusively, without even bothering to check in on your other students. Naruto got lucky, having already had a training plan in place, and didn't need your help to do it. However, Sakura, who was the weakest on your team, was left behind. I must also consider the fact that you allowed Uchiha Sasuke to copy what you knew of the Goken, which you yourself copied from Mitogai. On top of that, you went ahead and taught nature manipulation to a genin, so that he could learn the Chidori, which he then proceeded to try and use on his teammate, after learning that he had been disqualified due to your tardiness. Throughout the entire meeting, Kakashi had slumped down further and further as he listened to Minato berate and bring him down. Finally, after Minato appeared to be finished, he asked, "Do you have anything to say in your defense?" No, Kakashi admitted, his shoulders slumping even further. Minato sighed. "I'm disappointed in you, Kakashi. I thought I taught you better than that, but it appears you learned nothing in your time with me. Nor did you learn anything from Obito." He saw his former student wince. I can't overlook these issues. Not only does everything I've read show a lack of foresight, it also shows a blatant amount of favoritism and lack of leadership abilities. Because of this, you are going to be placed on a 6-month probation, and afterwards you will have to go through thorough testing to see if you truly have all of the qualities we look for in a jonin. But sensei. Kakashi gulped at the look Minato gave him and corrected himself. Yondarime-sama, what about Team 7? As it is, Team 7 has been officially disbanded, Minato said. Naruto has already been promoted to Takabetsu Jonin due to his feats in the Chunin Exams, and his victory over 2 very powerful ninja, one of which was S-ranked. Sasuke on the other hand will be getting a full psychiatric evaluation by Yamanaka and Orochi. Should he prove to be unstable, his chakra and Sharingan will be sealed until he can prove himself able to use his talents and skills correctly. Also, as a form of reparation, you will make a list of every jutsu you know and submit it for documentation. 30 of those jutsu will go to Naruto as a form of reparation for willful neglect. Kakashi just nodded. He was beginning to feel rather numb. For but a moment the world around him went out of focus as the ghostly forms of his deceased teammates materialized in front of him. Both held a disappointed look. Even worse, he could see the image of his father looking just as ashamed of him. The forms vanished the next second, however, and Kakashi was left standing with his newly revived former sensei. And Sakura. From what I've seen of her files, Sakura should have never even become a genin, Minato said coldly. She may have intelligence, but she lacks everything else, and that brain of hers seems to leave whenever Sasuke is involved. If she wants, she can re-enter the academy, but I wouldn't have a girl who doesn't train, doesn't work and berates one of her teammates in my ninja force. Kakashi nodded once, before disappearing in a puff of smoke. Minato closed his eyes and sighed. I'm sorry to do this to you, Kakashi, but it seems you still have hard lessons that need to be learned. Birth of the New Demon King. Naruto spent nearly an hour walking around a Tofujin-gai, pretending nothing was wrong. He spent some time eating the local cuisine and playing a few of the games. Being a ninja, and one blessed with the luck of a fox, Naruto won every one of the games he played. Not having much need of them, the blonde gave quite a few gifts away to some of the kids he found that weren't having much luck. Finally deciding enough was enough, he bought a stick of dango and began walking out of the city proper. It didn't take long before Naruto reached a decent-sized park that was just on the outer limits of the city. Finishing up his dango, he swallowed before calling out, "Are you four gonna stay hidden, or do I have to blow this place up before you four come out of hiding?" 4 figures appeared within the clearing Naruto had selected for his battleground. The first one Naruto laid eyes on was the guy who looked like an older Sasuke. He had black hair that hung near his cheeks to frame his face, and kept the rest of it in a ponytail, which was later obscured by the high-collared black cloak that had red cloud designs on it. There were, however, a few differences between this man and Sasuke, aside from the age difference. Sasuke had very pale skin, while the man before him had a slightly darker tone of skin. However, the 2 most distinguishing features for Naruto were the long pronounced tear troughs under his eyes, and the eyes themselves. They were red with 3 tamo in each eye. The Sharingan. So the rumors really are true, this gaki does have the Rinnegan like later Sama. Naruto's attention shifted from the man with the Sharingan, who could only be Itachi's older brother, and the one who massacred the Uchiha clan, to look at the guy directly to his left. He very tall and fairly muscled shinobi. He had a distinctive shark-like appearance, complete with pale blue skin, small, round white eyes, grille-like facial markings under his eyes, gills on his shoulders and sharp triangular teeth, a trait that reminded the blonde of Momoichi Zabuza. He also styled his dull blue hair in the form of a shark fin. He was wearing the same cloak as the other 3, with the only differences being the large object he had on his back, and the Kirigakure headband with the slash running through it. Who the fuck cares, let's just grab this little shit so we can go. Bad enough I can't sacrifice his ass to Jashin-sama, said a man with had medium-length silver hair slicked back with distinctive purple eyes. Cloak open with no shirt, only pants under it, revealing his Yugakure forehead protector around his neck, and Jashin amulet. He also wore dark green nail polish, and his orange Akatsuki ring on his left index finger, which bears the kanji for 3. He had a rather large triple-bladed scythe on his back. Shut up, Hidan, no one wants to listen to you complain or listen to you spout your mouth about your stupid religion. The last member was a dark-skinned, muscular man that towered over everyone in Akatsuki, with the exception of Big Blue, as Naruto called him. He wore a hood and a black mask, with his eyes being the only visible part of his face. His eyes have an unusual coloring. Green irides, no pupils and red sclera. Aside from his cloak, he wore the forehead protector of his home village with a scratch in the middle, which symbolized that he was no longer loyal to it. He also wore dark green nail polish, and an Akatsuki ring with the kanji for north was placed on his left middle finger. "Oh fuck you, Kakazu," shouted Hidan, "I'm sick of fucking listening to your shit. Fucking, money-loving prick. If you keep bad-mouthing Jashin-sama, I'm gonna fucking send you to hell." "Even hell runs on money," Kakazu said, "I'd be just fine." As amusing as it is to watch two grown adults act like a bunch snot-nosed brats, Naruto said, interrupting the duo before they began. I'm gonna have to ask that we get the ball rolling. To be honest, I'm glad you four came here. You see, I haven't had a good fight in a long time, since I killed Orochimaru anyways, but even he couldn't give me the challenge I've been craving. I hope you four do better. Hey, listen to this brat, Itachi, the blue-skinned man said. He grabbed the handle of the object he was holding and pulled it off his back, setting on his shoulder as a smirk graced his features. He thinks he actually has what it takes to defeat us. Come with us, Naruto-kun, Itachi said. Failure to do so will only make this harder for you. Naruto chuckled as he felt chakra invade his coils. I hope you don't think genjutsu of this level is going to work. He unleashed a torrent of his yaki and destroyed the illusion, along with the second one that had been woven into the first. It was a little trick Kyuubi had shown him. While his chakra control was not good enough to dispel a genjutsu higher than a B rank, his yaki could, even if he hadn't had decent control over it. I'm feeling a little insulted by your pathetic attempt at genjutsu, Itachi. I think I should show you just why it's a bad idea not to go all out on me at the very beginning. Blaring in a burst of speed, Naruto shot towards the four missing nin. Only Itachi was able to get out of the way in time, thanks to his Sharingan allowing him to see Naruto's movements with perfect clarity. The other three were not so lucky as the blonde appeared in between. Kasame ended up getting a double fist to the chest, while both Kakazu and Hidan were smashed in their respective faces. All three were sent flying backwards. I'm not surprised you managed to evade me, Naruto said as he looked behind him towards Itachi. Those damn monkey marbles of yours are annoying. You are very fast, Naruto-kun, and quite strong, Itachi complimented. However, I would suggest you give up. You do not have any hope against all four of us. Ha, so you say, Naruto said with a smirk. You little shit. Hidan shouted as he got back up and charged the blonde. I'm gonna fucking murder your ass. Naruto turned to look at Hidan, who was closing in and swinging his scythe like a madman. Naruto's sweat dropped at how uncoordinated the guy's attacks were. It was like he just fought without any thoughts on what he would do next. The blonde really hoped that wasn't how Kyuubi told him he fought. Holding out his hand, Naruto called out, Shinner Tensei. An invisible force smashed into Hidan, forcing him to once more go flying backwards. Naruto didn't have any time to admire his handiwork, though his two masks, one that looked like a demonic tiger, and another that took on a strange four-legged body with wings came at him. Fire release. Intelligent hard work. Wind release. Pressure damage. The lion mask fired a small fireball, which erupted into a literal firestorm as it struck the ground. It burned everything in its path as it came towards Naruto. Meanwhile, a tornado was released from the four-legged mask. It combined with the fire jutsu, and created a massive firestorm nearly 5 times as large as the one that had been struck by the wind. Naruto waited until he could feel the heat from the flames of the firestorm, then made liberal use of Shundo, and escaped the attack with ease, reappearing several meters away. He took a second to compliment himself on his choice of battleground. He was far enough away from the city that it wouldn't take any damage from his battle. That was good, he didn't need civilian casualties. Looking around for a mere second, the blonde Uzumaki spotted and charged his closest opponent, Uchiha Itachi. Said ninja only noticed just as Naruto appeared before him, and if the whitening of the man's eyes were any indication, he was surprised. That did not stop him from preparing for their first close-range encounter however, and Naruto and the Sharingan user began trading several blows. Their fists and feet were mere blurs as they fought, both of them launching attacks left, right and center at each other. "You're good," Naruto said with a grin as he launched several quick as lightning kicks, switching from high to low at random. Itachi dodged or redirected each one, using his Sharingan to keep up, as he soon found Naruto was faster than him. Really good. Way better than Orochimaru. Itachi didn't speak as he finished dodging Naruto's last kick, then launched several quick strikes with his fists. None of them reached Naruto as he dodged each one fairly easily. However, before the blonde could counterattack, Itachi jumped back and sped through a set of hand seals, fire release. Great Fireball Jutsu. A large fireball was launched from Itachi's mouth. Naruto held up his hands as the fireball came in. Fujutsu. Blocking technique. Absorption seal. The fireball touched Naruto's hands and began to shrink as he absorbed the chakra into his body. It didn't take long before the entire technique was gone. Once Naruto finished absorbing the fireball, he pointed his hands at Itachi, palms up. Shinner Tensei. The repulsion attack smacked into Itachi, who was sent flying back. However, when he hit the ground, Itachi was covered in a burst of smoke and was replaced with a log. "I've got you now, Gaki. I'm gonna sacrifice your ass to Jashin-sama." Naruto looked on either side of him to see Hidan and Kasame charging in, one with his scythe and another with large object. Naruto frowned as he charged Yaki into both hands. When the two swung at him, Naruto lashed out, striking the two weapons with his hands, and unleashing a blast of Yaki. A powerful blast was launched from each fist, the reddish-black energy crackling in its intensity. The scythe melted as Hidan was sent flying back with a loud scream of pain. The bandages on the large object were shredded, revealing a sword. Or at least, what Naruto assumed was a sword. The thing's construction was atypical in that its actual blade was comprised from a series of downward-facing scales, running along the entirety of its length until its hilt, at the base of which is a small skull. When Naruto's Yaki blast hit the sword, a loud screech was heard from it. The sound being emitted reminded the blonde of a dying beast. "What the hell?" shouted Kasame as his sword began to chip and vibrate. The blue-missing ninja's face became much more pale as he listened to his sword's pain shrieks. "What the hell kind of chakra is this?" "His chakra hurts Samehada." Naruto smirked. "This is no ordinary chakra fish bait," he said. "My chakra is so potent that it's poisonous to anyone and anything. That includes the overgrown sack of scales you're carrying." "Why you little shit?" Kasame roared, losing it as he charged at Naruto. However, while Kasame had some speed, he was nowhere near as fast as Itachi, who was still slower than Naruto. Said blonde moved in quickly, utilizing Shundo to appear directly in front of Kasame. Reddish-black energy appeared crackling along his hand as the demon shinobi created a knife's edge. He plunged a hand directly into Kasame's chest, only for Kasame to burst into crows. "Ha! Genjutsu!" Naruto broke the genjutsu over himself, and saw that his entire field of vision was another firestorm of epic proportions. The blonde gritted his teeth. The jutsu was much too large for him to absorb with his current skill. He wouldn't be capable of taking in such a large-scale attack. "I've only got one choice." His hands were spread out and channeled more chakra into his technique than he ever had in one jutsu. Shinra Tensei. Naruto harnessed his chakra and sent it out in a large blast of repulsive energy. The jutsu didn't get rid of the entire firestorm, but it did create a large hole in the center. The attack was also aimed directly at the lion mask, which Naruto knew from the last time launched fire attacks. His Shinra Tensei completely overpowered the mask and sent it sailing into and through a tree. It cracked as it plowed into the earth and then shattered seconds later, the thread that held the mask together unraveling in the process. A sigh escaped Naruto's mouth. However, he soon found he had no time to rest as a voice behind him called out, "Come here, you motherfucker." Turning, Naruto's soul literally burned to the crispy dawn. The silver-haired man's skin was flaking and falling off due to the poisonous and acidic effects of his yaki. Naruto could even see the man's ribcage being exposed, along with several muscle groups that looked close to melting off. Naruto had to wonder how the man was still alive, much less able to run at him. Thankfully, his surprise at seeing someone actually survive an attack with his yaki was not enough to keep him from acting. Naruto channeled chakra into his index finger and made an L shape with his hand. Reddish-black yaki crackled into a ball on the tip of his finger, before it was released in a large cylindrical wave that overtook Hidan. This time the man didn't even get the chance to cry out in pain, as his entire body was literally vaporized by the power Naruto pushed into the attack. Before Naruto could pat himself on the back, he was attacked by another mask, this one looking like some kind of deformed biped. It shot a large bolt of white lightning at him that Naruto was forced to use his speed to dodge. As he sped out of the way of the lightning, Naruto was about to use Shundo to get near Kasame, who looked to be closest to him. However, before he could do so, a large fire dragon rushed at him. Gritting his teeth, Naruto absorbed the chakra from the jutsu, only to yelp in pain, as the lightning bolt hit him from behind. Thanks to the yaki that covered his skin, it was protected for the most part, but that attack still stung something fierce. Glaring at the mask, Naruto Shundo it directly next to it, and then pulverized it with a yaki-enhanced fist. On instinct alone, he spun on the balls of his feet. Naruto launched an energy blast at Itachi, who had appeared behind him. He only had enough time to widen his eyes as he saw the pulse of chakra, only for Itachi to explode violently. Naruto was launched back to do the combined might of his yaki attack, and Itachi's exploding clone. Flipping around, Naruto landed on his feet and skidded several meters back, leaving 2 long trenches from where his heels had been forced to dig into the ground. He uncrossed his arms, which were smoking, but there was thankfully no damage done to him beyond the average stinging in his arms. He looked at the 3 remaining enemies. Itachi was standing just a little ways away, along with Kasame. Kakazu was farther away, and Naruto saw that his entire body was covered with stitches, and predominantly appeared to be sewn together, and if was he was seeing from the wind mask that had been attacking him a little while ago going into his back said anything. His body was composed of hundreds of thick dark gray threads woven throughout his flesh. Kind of gross, but considering some of the demons he had seen, not all that unusual. "Iskaki's much stronger than we thought," Kasame said. "He managed to destroy 2 of my hearts," Kakazu grumbled. "I haven't had someone destroy my heart since my battle with the Shodai Hokage." "You have fought most admirably, Naruto-kun," said Itachi. "However, surely you can see you are at a disadvantage. Please surrender and come quietly." Naruto began snickering. Then he began laughing. "You don't honestly think I'm going to give up after this battle just started getting good, do you? This is the kind of fight I've been waiting for." "Ha, the Gaki's got guts, I'll give him that," Kasame said with a smirk. "If he wants a fight, I say we oblige the kid, Itachi." Itachi closed his eyes and seemed resigned. "It seems we have no choice." "Heh, you haven't seen anything yet, Itachi," Naruto said as his eyes began to glow dark reddish black, making his Rinnegan eyes look truly demonic. Gyuki began pouring out of him in waves, the energy forming a cylinder around him that began to crackle with the contained energy. The 3S rank ninja all saw the power, and while they didn't know what it was, they knew instinctively that it would be a bad idea to let him unleash that power. Itachi, Kakazu and Kasame all sped towards the blonde. Kasame readied several hand seals for his most powerful jutsu. The brat had already hurt his Samahata with his weird chakra, there was no way he would let it get damaged again. The two remaining masks extended out of Kakazu's body and readied their jutsu, while the missing Taki ninja's skin took on a metallic gray color. Itachi had activated his Mingekyo eyes, preparing to use his most powerful jutsu on the blonde. However, before any of the 4 fighters could attack, a large red wave of energy crested between them. The power blew the 3S rank ninja back, while Naruto dug his heels into the ground and channeled chakra to his feet. The power, which Naruto noted was Yauki, flew past them, leaving a large trench as it continued on into the forest, where it left even more destruction in its wake before dissipating. What was left between the 3S rank ninja and Naruto was a large trench that had steam pouring off of it, like the attack had literally melted parts of the earth. 3 sets of eyes widened as Itachi, Kasame and Kakazu wondered who had the power to create such a powerful attack. "Sorry I'm late, Naruto-sama." Everyone turned to see a beautiful red-haired female with carmine eyes and red hair with gold highlights. She was wearing a crimson sleeveless unitard with mesh netting running along the sides of her torso, and a black battle kimono over it. A red sash with a black line running through the center held the kimono together. At the bottom front left side of the kimono was the symbol of the Kasune clan. The outfit clung to most of her body like a second skin, and though it didn't show much it left very little to the imagination. On her feet were a pair of old-style ninja greaves, where the big toe was separated from the rest. The armor was a dark red in color, with golden lines moving across it in the pattern. They were segmented and moved up her calves, stopping at the ankle where a fox head was being used as a knee guard. Likewise, she was wearing a pair of shoulder guards that were shaped in a fox head with the same color scheme being used. On her forearms was the same segmented armor as her ankles, which stopped in a guard plate just above her knuckles. Under that she had red fingerless gloves. Her red hair with gold highlights was tied into a ponytail behind her, with a red headpiece that possessed 4 triangles surrounding and keeping her hair in place. The long red tresses swayed in a light breeze. Strapped across her back was a long sheath, and in her left hand was an odachi. Everyone looked at the beautiful, smiling female, wondering who she was. Everyone except Naruto. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want a next part of this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification, and also check out the other videos that I have created, and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.